This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
Good evening, India, Mumbai, Pune, and good day to all the viewers and listeners across the United States, especially Cincinnati, Ohio. Is it snowing? I believe there were a few flurries in New York. I don't know how it was in Cincinnati. If it is snowing for you this Sunday, sit back. Warmly cover yourself with a blanket or a throw and listen to Storytellers Cafe for the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes as we tell you interesting stories from around the world. So today I bring you a guest from India, from Pune city, which is very close to Mumbai. I wouldn't call it a twin city, but Pune is a hub for all IT professionals. So we have a very interesting guest tonight, somebody different. If we had a wonderful storyteller from California last Sunday, Rupa Mohan, who is a docent in the Asian Arts Museum, and she spoke about her journey, how she got into storytelling. So I'm sure you all enjoyed it, and we really liked the conversations and tractions on the Facebook page. So please feel free to ask questions. We would like to know from where you're watching, what's your name, and you definitely pose your questions to the guest, and we will try and answer it to you. Well, we are in December 6th today. December is the season for love and cheer, a time for making memories to last throughout. Haven't we been making memories for the past 8 months to last us throughout our lifetime and beyond, right? Well, Christmas is a time for joy, a time for love and cheer, and a time for listening to stories around the hearth. Well, today's topic is something different but connected to storytelling. What is public speaking? It is the process of communicating information to an audience. It is usually done before a large audience, like in a school or a workplace, and even in our personal lives. The benefits of knowing how to communicate to an audience includes sharpening your critical thinking and verbal, non-verbal communication skills. I would go along to say storytelling is all about this as well, sharpening your verbal and non-verbal communication skills. Tonight, our guest is Mukta Nadkar. Mukta Nadkar is a Toastmaster. Toastmasters International is a US headquartered nonprofit educational organization that operates clubs worldwide for the purpose of promoting communication, public speaking, and leadership. Mukta Nadkar, our guest tonight on Storytellers Cafe, talks to us about the Toastmasters in India. Mukta has been a Toastmaster for the past 13 years. She has served as a club officer for more than 10 terms and a district officer for 5 years. Most recently as the Program Quality Director of District 98, India. Mukta has been an international speech contestant at district level twice and completed her Distinguished Toastmaster journey 4 times. After having worked for over 32 years in teaching, the hotel industry, and business, Mukta has now retired to Toastmasters and traveling. Well, many of you might know all about Toastmasters, but my knowledge is very limited. So let me bring on Mukta Nadkar to Storytellers Cafe. And Mukta, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. It's a proud privilege and a pleasure to host you this evening.
Thank you so much, Usha. It's wonderful to be here. This is absolutely a first time for me and a lovely experience. I'm so looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mukta. So, can you tell our viewers we listen to stories? We also have questions, conversations, and expressions on Storytellers Cafe. But whatever we do is a story, right? So, I
Yes.
would really like you to talk about your journey as a Toastmaster.
Yes, Usha, actually joining Toastmasters or even finding out about Toastmasters was quite accidental. I had no knowledge, prior knowledge to it. But when I lived in Saudi Arabia a long time ago in the 90s and 2000s, a college friend of mine met me one evening and her husband spoke so beautifully. So I asked him where he had developed this skill. And he said, Toastmasters, why don't you come to Toastmasters? And I said, what is it? And he went on to explain what Toastmasters was. So out of curiosity, I went to this club, wondering what this club was all about, where I would learn to speak exactly like him, who was so good. And when he took me, I joined initially just to make friends in a foreign land, but slowly and surely, Toastmasters just grew on me as I listened to wonderful storytellers, speakers who stood on that stage with such confidence. And then I knew that that is what I would also love to develop and learn. So that is how I started my foray into Toastmasters. So, to tell you a little more about the organization, it is a 96-year-old organization. And really, there are not so many people in the world who've heard about it. But we're getting there and we're trying to spread the word and to build the confidence amongst people. So, what Toastmasters, the organization, although it started in Santa Ana, California in 1924, and it only came to India in about 28 years ago. So, for all of this time, it was almost a secret, and people did not know about Toastmasters. But when it came to India, it started off in Bangalore. The first club started in Bangalore, and then there were a few clubs in Chennai and in Delhi. And the first Toastmasters club only came to Pune about 15 years ago. Now, the purpose of this club was to help people build their confidence in public speaking, in communicating with others, and also to develop leadership skills. So everybody really joins the smallest unit, which is the club. And so clubs blossomed, they mushroomed. And today I can proudly tell you, if you've not heard about Toastmasters Usha in Mumbai, there are over 60 clubs in Mumbai and over 80 clubs in Pune. Yes, this is how rapidly Toastmasters has spread because the benefit of learning how to communicate, how to think on your feet, how to evaluate, analyze, listen, all the skills we need in our everyday lives, whether we are stay home moms or whether we are out in the industry working in a professional background, or whether we do storytelling for a livelihood and need to learn how to express ourselves, use that wonderful eye contact, gestures, all of these skills can be learned. And to learn it in an organization like Toastmasters, which is friendly, which is supportive, and offers that environment of fun and learning, I think it is the safest place to learn these skills. So I am so enjoying it, Usha. I can't tell you how much I love the organization and my 13 years in it.
I can see that. It is evident, Mukta. I mean, I know that you're passionate. It comes across, And see, I'm a storyteller. There are many storytellers in India who have mushroomed or who have come up, or we know of them in the last 1 year, and especially during this new normal lockdown, people are doing, on online storytelling. So now English is a foreign language to us, right? It is a colonial construct. The British left behind the legacy. Some, I would say, about 70% of storytellers do struggle to communicate in English. They can communicate the ideas, the expressions, but the language is where, it gives them that little roadblock. And just wanted to know that just came up to me that Toastmasters is the language purely English, or you do regional languages as well? And
Yes.
my second question is, I think a storyteller can join Toastmasters and hone their skills, public speaking, because the most scariest near death experience is standing on stage, facing an audience, and talking before them. Right? So, can you tell us
Absolutely.
about this?
Yeah, absolutely, Usha. So you're right. All the Toastmasters did start in English as the main language for teaching communication and public speaking skills. Now it has diversified, and I think we are available in 10 languages. And the first Indian language you would be happy to know is Tamil. So there are Toastmasters manuals and curriculum available in Tamil. But here in Pune, we have a Toastmasters club in Marathi, we have a Toastmasters club in Hindi, and there are all over the world now, there are regional language Toastmasters club. So whether it be Tamil or whether it be Malayalam or Urdu or even Tagalog for the Filipinos who are in plenty in the Middle East, there are many language clubs because the idea of Toastmaster is not to inhibit your speaking style, it is to encourage you to speak. And if English is going to be the barrier, then why not speak first in your own language, mother tongue, in which you are more comfortable, and then you can always learn to migrate or move to English if there be a need and you need. So, yes, to answer your question, there are regional language Toastmasters Club. In fact, there are dedicated Toastmasters Club to in French, German, Spanish, Chinese. So yes, there are many languages in which Toastmasters conduct their meetings. And it definitely makes it a lot easier because initially a human being wants to tell their story, wants to talk about themselves, and they are most comfortable if they can do that in their own language. So, regional language is an important way to break the barrier and get people to uh, get out of this fear of public speaking, because as they say, public speaking is probably the number one fear in the world, even more than the fear of death or the fear of snakes. So to make it comfortable, to make it easy for people to have that wonderful supportive environment, the Toastmasters community in a club where you have 15, 20, 30, 40 members, everybody just rallies around you and supports you and wants you to be your best. So what better way to encourage people than to have them come to Toastmasters? So, yes, the clubs are thriving. And even in this unfortunate scenario where we are all locked down and in our homes and not meeting in person, but having virtual meetings, we get to visit with and interact with Toastmasters all over the world. So, whether it be in California or Australia, we're constantly meeting new people, broadening our horizons and learning experiences, and really sharing each other's stories and enjoying the culture and everything that a person has to offer. So that's it, Usha.
Yes, very, very interesting. And you, thank you for explaining it so well. That you have Toastmasters and regional languages too. And the first thing is in Tamil, because I tried doing Tamil storytelling in Malaysia, actually, at Penang, at the festival in Penang. And I speak Tamil at home, with my husband. But to tell a
That's why
story,
I told you about this.
yes. So you see whether you speak the perfect Tamil. So one should really, thank you for this. I'm going to join the Toastmasters that's closest to me in Mumbai just to know that and experience it. So, Mukta, can you tell us about why the name Toastmaster? And how did it start in India? What was the genesis, or how did it begin?
Yeah.
And I believe there is something that is also inclusive. And I remember you talking that India is the first, or Pune is the first to go online on the LGBTQI. So I would like you to talk to our viewers
Okay,
about it as
so
well.
all right, so several little questions linked together, but so very briefly, the Toastmasters organization was founded by a gentleman called Ralph Smedley. He tried to start it in Illinois, in Chicago, but then it moved to California. And in 1924, he really found that young men needed the skills to speak, and especially at weddings, Christian weddings, where people have to raise a toast and say a few words about the uh, lovely groom and bride, they needed to learn that skill. So I think that was the reason why it started off by being called the Toastmasters. Uh, Thereafter, the organization remained in America for a very long time before it spread to Europe. In fact, it took 6 years to even move to their neighboring country, Canada. And thereafter, the clubs mushroomed all over the United States. It moved to Europe and only came to India, I think, in 1992. And the concept and idea and introduction of Toastmasters to India was done by a gentleman called Subramaniam Chittur, who lived in the Middle East where Toastmasters was already functioning. And when he retired and came to India, to Bangalore city, he started the concept of Toastmasters. So that's how Toastmasters was introduced to India almost 28 years ago. And then another gentleman, Prasad Sovani, who was in Toastmasters in Singapore, and he returned to India and especially to Pune in 1999. And 16 years ago, he started and founded the first Toastmasters Club in Pune. So there were gentlemen who came back from the Middle East, from Singapore to India, where they had been a part of Toastmasters and thought that it was a great thing for the young Indian generations, for all the young IT professionals, people at work who needed these skills of communication. The clubs were founded. And really, from single clubs, a few clubs in Bangalore, a few clubs in Chennai, Delhi, and Pune, and Mumbai. Today, we have over 1,000 clubs in India. And it is a remarkable growth story for Toastmasters in India because the young people find it so useful to develop their speaking skills. They get promotions, they learn how necessary it is at the workplace. It is a good way for young college students to have that confidence to go for interviews when they need to find jobs. It is good for housewives who normally feel so diffident about their own skills at home, for them to come out into society and be able to speak confidently. So Toastmasters has made a huge impact globally and in India, especially where people really find the need to come out. And there were so many people in Pune, Usha, who did not want to speak in English and wanted to speak in the regional language. So now, when the Marathi Club has opened, more and more people can join, and we can go to rural India and teach communication skills and open up these clubs. And then to answer your last question about the LGBTQIA community, this community, especially in India, unlike in the West, where it is more accepted, has always been put down, and it is only 2 years ago with Section 377 opening and them coming out a little bit. So the first LGBTQIA online Toastmasters Club has been started by a young man in Pune, Swaraj Kasar. He relentlessly pursued the wanting to have this club, and he's a really a young, fine young person, boy, who went traveled online to America and Australia and other countries and found out where such clubs did exist, but they were all in-person clubs. And he wanted, in this current situation, to start an online club. So very happily, last in October, on the 11th of October, which is International Coming Out Day, the first LGBTQIA plus Toastmasters Club was started in India, in Pune, and we are an online club. I am also a member of the club as an ally, as a supporter of the movement and Toastmasters. I'm also a mentor to the club. And we have members from different parts of the world. We have 5 members from the United States, members from Chennai, Bangalore, Pune, and other parts of the country. And it is a wonderful platform for these young people to come out and talk about their stories. And their stories are incredible. They are so touching. They are human stories. They are personal stories which have been suppressed for so long that now they feel they are in an environment which is supportive, and so they can tell their stories more freely. I thoroughly enjoy being a part of the club. In fact, I am a member of 4 clubs, a community club in Pune, an advanced Toastmasters club in Pune, a community club in Mumbai, and most recently, the Rainbow Toastmasters Club, the online LGBTIQ plus club. So that is my story and journey. And I truly love being a part of as many clubs as I can. It does cost a little money, but it's well worth it to be able to interact and support young people who have such great self-belief.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that so beautifully. Mukta, that brings me to my next question. So, is there a fee to become a member? And what is the process? I mean, how does one evolve in Toastmasters?
Okay, so since Toastmasters is such an old organization now, 1960, they have a beautiful structure. Their learning program or curriculum is extensive. So anybody can go online to www.toastmasters.org and you will get an ocean of information. Now, they say if you want to find a club, you just type in Mumbai, Pune, Los Angeles, New York, and it will drop down a list of all the clubs in that city. And once you know where these clubs are located, you can find the club which is closest to you, and there will always be a contact number and a name of a person whom you can call. Get connected with them, ask them the way you can join it. It's really very simple. All you have to do is fill up a form, and there is a fee structure which is $45 for 6 months, which works out to $7.50 a month. And like they say, the value you get from that $7.50 is like having 2 cups of Starbucks coffee or something like that. That is all that one pays for such wonderful learning, camaraderie, friendships. So yes, so the system of joining a Toastmasters club is really simple. You just connect with anybody close to you and find out their names, fill up a form, and join a club.
Okay, so I actually holidayed with Mukta and Mahabaleshwar last weekend, and Mukta was busy on a Saturday morning. There was a contest going on, right, at the Pune Toastmasters. So I saw that they were doing humorous stories, and I also saw that they were given a prompt and they had to just talk about it right then, like just a minute, you're just given a topic and you have to speak. So, can you tell us what kind of contests and what are all these that you have?
So, Usha, in a typical meeting which a club has, clubs meet at various times that are convenient to them. So, there are clubs that meet on a weekly basis, clubs that meet bi monthly. There are very few clubs in the world that meet only once a month. It is mostly bi monthly and weekly. Now, a regular club meeting has 3 segments. They have like prepared speeches where they are learning to speak confidently on a subject. And then they have impromptu speaking where they just speak off the cuff. Like, you can ask me a question and I just deliver an answer, which is called the impromptu speaking or speaking off the cuff. And then there is a segment which is called the evaluation portion in a meeting. And what is that you listen to a speaker, you evaluate, you analyze everything that the speaker is saying, and then you give them feedback. How well did they speak? Were they prepared? Was their content good? How could they improve? So these are the 3 broad segments: speeches, impromptu speaking, and evaluation. Now, to improve yourself, after you've done this week on week in your club, we have contests. So the contests are for people to pit their skills against one another at the club level. So we have 4 contests in a year. The one contest is on international speech, which is a little more serious and you get a message. And then the second one, which you mentioned, is the humorous speaking, because many people have a funny bone and they always feel left out of the serious speeches. So you have humorous speeches, then you have the impromptu speaking contest, and you have the evaluation contest. So when we were in Mahabaleshwar last year, there were 2 contests going on. One was the humorous speech contest, and one was the evaluation speech contest. Yeah, so no matter whether I'm on holiday or traveling, I'm always connected to my clubs in Pune and always, attending meetings or contests. So I need to get out of that little social engagement from friends and join my Toastmasters. So that's what we were doing last weekend, Usha,
Okay.
attending
Okay.
contests from Mahabaleshwar.
Okay. I have a question for you, and pardon my Marathi, but I'm going to try, and maybe you could answer in Marathi. मुक्ता ताई, तुम्ही आम्हाला एक गोष्टी सांगा मराठीमध्ये.
आता माझं मराठी इतकं चांगलं नाहीये, पण मी ट्राय करीन.
Because I'll tell
Me,
you, there are a lot of listeners internationally who are Maharashtrians, Tamilians, Punjabis, Oriya, Bengalis. And I think there is something when you listen to your own mother tongue or you listen to a regional language. Uh, I find that there are more, not footfalls, there are more people watching it, online as compared to an English storytelling. Suppose you're telling a
right.
story in Hindi, there are more people actually watching it. So, as
Yeah,
something tells me that Indians love, listening to in their
sure.
mother tongue or in their regional languages. So, hence, I thought on the spur of the moment, I will ask you. I'm sorry if I put you in a
No, you haven't. Actually, you have in a way, but I'll tell you, I so enjoyed your story last week when you had translated a Cuban story and adapted and adopted it to a Tamil version, and we thoroughly enjoyed the local flavor that you gave that story. It was super entertaining, and I just loved it that you had the ability to do that. Now, why I say you put me on a spot is because there is a Marathi Toastmasters club here in Pune that has kept inviting me, and I've resisted going there, saying that my Marathi is not good at all. I would be lost. I mean, I'd love to join them to learn my own language, but I am not so fluent, and therefore I've always made an excuse. So if any of them are listening tonight, you really put me on the spot because they're going to call me instantly and say, "Hey, you could do that live, but you can't come to our club." So, what can I tell you? I can only tell you a little bit about my own family story. In मराठी माझी दोन मुलं आहेत, निखिल आणि सुनील. आणि खरं खूप मोठी वाढली आहेत आता. अ, 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 त्यांना आता 40 वर्षी. मी काय सांगणार, दोघांची लग्न पण झाली नाही आहेत, तर तिथे बाहेर मुली असतील चांगल्या तर मला नक्की फोन करून विचारा माझ्या मुलांबद्दल. त्यांचं आयुष्य अगदी सुखात गेलंय. घरी राहिली आहेत, बोर्डिंग स्कूलला गेली आहेत. शिक्षण त्यांचं मुंबईत झालं आणि आता सध्या एक मुलगा मुंबईत राहतो आणि एक आमच्याकडे पुण्याला असतो. तर जास्ती काही गोष्टी नाही मला सांगता येईल मराठीत. But I think that is the best I can do today, Usha, in trying to tell you a little bit about
खूप
my
खूप चांगलं,
voice.
खूप चांगलं. You put it very nicely, and I could really understand. And it is so nice to listen to Marathi. So nice to listen to regional language.
Yeah,
When
it is.
somebody talks. And I did. I was once, Mukta, since you're from the teaching background, a couple of years back, a college. For their literature festival had invited me. So the topic was humor beyond the language barrier.
Right,
So, humor beyond the language barrier. So, actually, I told a story in Tamil. I mean, the same Minakshi's story in Tamil,
right.
and my audience was, I guess, predominantly in Bombay's cosmopolitan. But everyone understood the humor and also the catch at the end, which I think
Yeah,
some of us had difficulty in getting the punchline. So I think language is no barrier as long as you are an avid listener and the teller is able to communicate what they are telling, whether be it a story or an idea. I think that is important. So it goes beyond the language barrier. Everyone
absolutely,
can understand.
absolutely, Usha. I mean, we watch movies also sometimes. So music and tone and watching films. I watch some Marathi movies which really move me, and though I may not understand every single word, they're just so enjoyable. So whether it is humor, language, music, I think you're right. It goes beyond barriers. If you're willing to enjoy it, listen to it, you can thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Mukta, is there something else that you would like to share with us? Something that you would like to tell all our listeners and viewers, and all the storytellers out there. Sometimes I ask myself, why do I get diverse personalities, but they all connect to storytelling? Sometimes on the spur of the moment, I say, no, this person has to be there because what they are doing is a story and that needs to be told, needs to be communicated. And Bharat FM's main motive is to give a platform to Indians, so give them a global platform so that the Indian diaspora worldwide can see them, listen to them, and know about them. So I really thank Bharat FM for giving me an opportunity to host Storytellers Cafe every Sunday. And then I used to wonder, will I get tellers every Sunday? I mean, but it's like I have a long list, and there are some of them whom I said I'm going to invite you, but then I met you and I thought you were the perfect for this weekend. We needed to
Thank
know
you.
about Toastmasters, public speaking, so that it helps others if they want to hone their skills, get rid of this fear of standing on stage and talking to an audience, because that's what performance storytelling is all about. So,
Right.
wonderful. Do you have anything to tell us? Something.
Yeah, so it really is. It has been a wonderful platform, and for 13 years, I have seen people who join Toastmasters with good intent, with wanting to learn and get rid of their fears. But for almost 4 to 6 months, they were paralyzed in the club. They would not speak when they were called to do an impromptu session. They would just hide beneath their chairs, almost so fearful. But yet, slowly and gradually, that confidence came. They finally got out of their shells with encouragement, with support, and today they are fine storytellers. They are blossoming in their workplace. They are confident housewives, able to guide their children when before they were afraid to do so. So, yes, and it is a platform for you to come and speak about yourself. Tell your story. You don't even have to tell somebody else's story. Each one of us goes through every moment of our life is an incident and a story that we can expound and explain and tell it seriously or in humor. It just depends. So, all these 13 years, I have told so many of my own personal stories, whether they are about me, about my family, things I learned from other people, and about friends. I have told my friends stories, which are so meaningful, and they've been lessons that I have learned from them. So truly, and this is the season, this month of Christmas, as we celebrate in our homes in lockdown. Um, this is a wonderful way of connecting with people. And like I said earlier in this conversation, we as Toastmasters have been able to connect around the world in this somber situation of the pandemic, where we can feel sorry for those who've lost loved ones or who are hurting because of bad times, and be there and encourage them, or even just lend a ear to listen to their stories. So yes, storytelling, listening, showing compassion, giving, helping people in these hard times can be done so easily on this wonderful platform which you have today provided, Usha. I am glad that I've been able to reach out to people, and I really do hope that we can encourage more and more people to come out and tell us their stories, because who does like to listen to a good story?
Absolutely. And that is really wonderful. So, we don't know how long this new normal is going to last. And I'm told definitely for the next 6 months. So, don't wait, don't procrastinate. just join the nearest club and get involved, even if you're an established storyteller. I feel, because I rarely do personal stories, but I know that's the new wave which is hitting storytellers around the world. And in India,
Right.
people are coming. The spoken word festival is all about telling your story, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. There is one wonderful Australian storyteller. She's written a book in the pandemic about this little gnome who is lost in his house and hates that he's locked down and can't go out to school or play with his friends. But the tree, which is very, very wise, tells him that there is so much that you can do within your house, from within. And then
Right.
the little gnome discovers that he can paint, he can draw, he can cook, he can help in chores at home and learn a new skill or a language. So I would say there is so much that you can do staying in the house.
Absolutely.
Just go out and join a Toastmaster club nearest to you and get over that fear of public speaking.
Yeah, yeah, really, because everybody is really so depressed in being insulated, isolated, and this is a wonderful way to go and just talk to people who think similarly, and and it just gets rid of your own fears and inhibitions when you meet strangers and can speak. And it's not demanding, it's doing things at your own pace. There are no timelines involved. There is no exam to pass. There is nobody who's going to say you're pass or fail. It's just being there and learning, at your own time and pace. So I think that is one of the best things about it, that you're encouraged to go along the way you want to. In fact, I have so many what we call mentees in Toastmasters. Some of our senior members are mentors to many others in our organization. And we call them mentees, although they are proteges. So we say you've got a wonderful mentor-mentee relationship. So I have a lot of mentees who call me and say, I've written a speech, can I practice with you? And I just love listening to their stories. So every day I get the opportunity to learn and listen to other people's stories. And I just wish people would join to tell their stories, for somebody else to listen to it, because there is such a large audience in Toastmasters who would be more than happy to listen to all of your stories. So, yes,
Yes.
I strongly promote people joining Toastmasters.
Yes, and Mukta, my last question before we sign off is, you did mention that even you're planning or you go to rural areas and promote Toastmasters in the rural areas. Can you tell us something about that? That was really interesting.
Yes. So, Pune is a big city. And then we thought, because you spoke about regional languages and asked us, um, do we have Toastmasters Club? And the answer is yes. So, how do we promote this? I mean, people in Pune, all of them may not be wanting to learn. Join Toastmasters clubs in Marathi. But if you go to smaller towns like Aurangabad, we started a Toastmasters club in Aurangabad. There is a Toastmasters club in Nashik. There is a new club which is about to be chartered in Kolhapur, where uh, it will be an English club to start with, but I'm sure it will gain momentum and attract a large Marathi audience. Um, and so we can branch out into a regional language club. So, yes, taking Toastmasters to smaller towns and communities, and helping them in the same way we help others in the bigger cities, that's going to be really the dream of Toastmasters in India.
Thank you, Mukta. It has been very enlightening to know all about Toastmasters, and I toast your spirit and more of
Thank
your
you.
ilk. And yes, communication is the big thing. You know, all we need in this digitalization and with cell phones, texting, people have stopped communicating, and the text communicates, and sometimes you can mistake it, you know, things don't go the way the autocorrect. If it's not happening, something else goes up, and Siri is recording what you're saying, and before you say, you press and it's already gone, and you don't want that to be heard. So I think please communicate, tell stories, and that's what Storytellers Cafe is all about. And thank you, Mukta, for coming and gracing us on Storytellers Cafe and telling us all about Toastmasters. So
Thank you so
I
much, Ushad.
I I actually want to reach out to all the viewers and the listeners. Please write to us on the chat when you're watching the show. We would like to know your questions, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions for Mukta, Mukta will definitely answer it. You know, or maybe she may come after the show and answer your questions on Facebook. And this will also be streamed live on YouTube on the Bharat FM Storytellers Cafe YouTube channel. So please watch it and let us know your feedback. So have a great evening in India, Mumbai and Pune, and to all the listeners in the United States, have a great Sunday. And
Thank you so
that's
much,
it.
Usha. Such a joy being with you really today and on Bharat FM and on Storytellers Cafe. It was really a wonderful experience and opportunity. Thank you all. And thank you
Thank,
to all the listeners as well.
thank you, Mukta. Thank you. Okay.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.